So today we're going to talk about artists that we'll never react to. And one of those artists is Jimi Hendrix. So
why can't we react to Jimi Hendrix?
Well, as some of you may or may not know, there's an issue with reacting to certain artists on YouTube.
Well, yeah, I know that, but...
And Jimi Hendrix is one of those artists. Jimi Hendrix is an artist that if a reactor plays his music or reacts to his videos, it instantly gets blocked, banned, whatever.
Oh, yeah, because I think we tried to do him a long time ago.
Yeah, and it didn't work out. So most reactors know this, and
I do know this because I have on my Patreon I have like banned artist list.
Yeah, right.
And the list is so long I forget who was on the list sometimes. Okay. But he actually is on the list along with a few other people like the Eagles,
right? Yeah,
AC/DC, the
Ozzy
Beatles, Black Sabbath with Ozzy Osbourne. So the list goes on.
Well, recently those have been the artists that we've been featuring on the podcast as well as our Patreon. So of course, if you want to see the full video that we're about to react to, you can check it out on Patreon. But anyway, I want to talk about Jimi Hendrix because he's somebody who is spoken very highly of. I believe he's in the 27 Club.
Oh, he died at 27.
Yeah, I believe he died at 27 along with Janis Joplin and another artist as well. I believe
Amy Winehouse.
Amy Winehouse. Yeah. And Jim Morrison from The Doors.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So the thing about Jimi Hendrix is that people regard him as one of the greatest guitarists in the world. And
of all time.
Of all time. And we've heard his name so many times while doing reactions and listening to different types of music. But the thing of it is that we've only seen or heard one of his songs. And so I do want to check out these two videos to really kind of explore his music, but just see this guy live, see what he's all about. I want to understand what people see is so great about this guy, because while growing up, I've always, I'm familiar with artists like James Brown, Michael Jackson. All right now. But Jimi Hendrix was never one of those artists that my parents talked about or even my grandparents talked about.
Mine either.
And so coming up, when people say, oh, he's one of the greatest musicians alive, or he's one of the greatest musicians who have ever existed, I'm like, how? I've never heard of this guy.
Right. And I've been hoping that people would suggest Jimmy. And
they do. All the time. Yeah, absolutely. People suggest Jimi Hendrix work all the time, especially him playing in Woodstock. The problem is that we can't explore it.
Yeah.
And because we're a reaction channel, a lot of the music that we explore is shown to y'all. To us, there was no real incentive to make the videos if we couldn't share it with everybody. If it would just get taken down.
Yeah, so the great thing about this is we're not letting that stop us from discovering the music. And that's why I'm happy we're doing this, because it's like so many artists that is worthy of just going on a journey.
Yeah.
And we kind of miss out not doing that.
Absolutely.
So. Screw you, YouTube. I'm just kidding. So what song are we doing first?
So before we jump into it, interesting fact. I remember when I was watching a video with Little Richard, he was talking about how Jimi Hendrix was his roadie. And he actually fired him.
Because he wasn't a good roadie because he didn't show up.
Yeah, exactly.
Or he was late.
Yeah, exactly. I think that he probably had this ego, or he felt like overconfident that he didn't have to show up for practice or anything.
Oh, well.
So Little Richard wasn't down for that because he just ran a tight ship.
Yeah.
And so he fired him.
Little Richard didn't play. Can you imagine Little Richard being mad at you?
Right, I know, right? It must be like the friendliest anger or friendliest.
The funniest.
Yeah, the funniest.
Right.
Yeah, being mad at somebody. So the songs we're going to be checking out is All Along the Watchtower. And then that's going to be followed by Voodoo Child, live in Maui. So once again, if you want to see the full video, the link will be in the description. But let's go ahead and jump into it. This is All Along the Way. Let's go.
Wow. This was groovy, baby.
Oh yeah. So listening to this, I have to put things into context because I've been consuming a lot of rock and roll music. I've been consuming especially a lot of 70s rock.
Okay.
So when I listen to this, in my mind, it doesn't really say there's anything special about it.
Oh.
Because I'm comparing it to a lot of bands that came after this.
Oh.
And when I think about when this came out, which was 1968, this was groundbreaking at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And when I put it in perspective like that, I'm like, wow. Because the sound that I hear in this is the sound that all these other artists end up duplicating in the 70s and in the 80s and the 90s.
So you're not blown away because of that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been spoiled by later rock and roll music.
Okay.
So this is my take on it.
So putting it in perspective, you can think how blown away everybody was at the time.
Yes, exactly. Because they had never heard anything like this.
Yeah. I mean, it was like the guitar was singing or talking to you.
Yeah.
I thought
okay, go ahead.
I thought it was great. I was like, okay, Watchtower, what is the message in here?
Yeah.
And, you know, like you said, in the 60s and the 70s, a lot was going on during the time.
Right.
But then I was like, let me not try to guess what this is about. So I looked it up, and Bob Dylan wrote this song.
Oh, yeah.
And he wrote it about drama with CBS. I think that's what they said.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Dylan's frustration with his management at CBS.
Right.
So maybe they're like controlling him, and they're watching him, and they're treating him basically like a slave.
Yeah.
You know, so businessmen, they drink my wine, plowmen dig my earth, and it's like, I'm making you rich, and you're treating me this kind of way. There must be some kind of way out of here, said the Joker to the thief. There's too much confusion, I can't get no relief. Businessmen, they drink my wine, plowmen dig my earth. None will level on the line, nobody offer his word. And he's telling the story of how he feels. Like, he feels like a fool. He's like the Joker in this. You know, so, and they're watching him on the Watchtower. Like, they're all up here, and he's down here slaving away.
Right.
Very interesting. I thought it was a great song, and I wanted to see him actually perform this.
Yeah. Well, the next video we're going to watch is going to be a live performance. But what kind of musical influence did you hear in this?
Musical influence?
Like what kind of styles?
It sounded like Rick James. His voice sounds a little like Rick James to me.
Well, I think, Hendrix was out before Rick James, so maybe he influenced Rick James.
I'm sure.
You could look that up. But I heard a lot of blues in this.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And there was elements of psychedelic rock.
Okay.
It's like a psychedelic feeling. But the main thing that I heard in this was that combination of blues and rock and roll. And that is something...
This is rock and roll.
Well, what I'm saying is it was a combination of like a bluesy... It was rock and roll, but then there was like a bluesy styling to it.
I think the early rock and roll did sound like that because it was heavily influenced from the blues.
Right. But when you think about like early rock and roll was very upbeat. Think about Little Richard when they would play the rock and roll music and people could dance to it and play the keyboard and everything.
It was a different time. So a lot of stuff was going on, like the civil rights movement during this time. So the sound is going to be a little bit different.
Right, exactly. So it wasn't upbeat. And so that's where like the bluesy elements or the more serious elements of whatever was going on in the world can be heard in this particular song.
Yeah.
And so what I'm getting at is that when I listen to this, I hear all the other artists, whether it was Led Zeppelin, Deep Purple, Frank Marino, I hear a lot of the style that they end up using in their later music, and I can tell that it was influenced by Hendrix.
Okay.
So that was really cool.
I think I want to check out some more Bob Dylan music as well. I think we did one song from him, but it has been so long, And I don't think we can really do too much of Bob Dylan.
No,
either.
He's another artist that we need to explore as well.
So, what's the next song, babe?
Yeah, so we're going to go ahead and jump into the next song, which is Voodoo Child.
Ooh.
And this is his live performance in Maui.
Ooh, the quality is nice.
Yeah.
They had a good camera. He didn't finish the song.
Well, the performance is probably extended, so we'll probably have to watch like another extended video.
So,
but this was great.
Yeah. What I kept thinking about is these are people's grandparents in this audience.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I was thinking about the same thing.
And then I wonder if many of them remember. I know they probably remember going, but do they actually remember being there? Actually, especially the girl in the red dress.
Yeah.
You could tell she was like tripping hard.
Yeah.
And then there were babies in the audience.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I want to hear from people if they were in an audience because people... It felt like they were experiencing the music on another level. Like,
oh, hell yeah.
See the colors.
Yeah, definitely.
of the song.
Yeah, right. People definitely were feeling and seeing the music. We've heard plenty of stories about Woodstock. We've heard plenty of stories about this generation and LSD and how they would go to these concerts and be tripping out. And when you watch Jimmy performing on stage, this is something I gotta give him tons of credit for. Like, he is a serious showman. Yeah. This guy, he was playing the guitar and you could already tell he was in the zone. He got down on his knees. He had his guitar up in the air and he was just playing it, and you could tell he was just completely zoned out into the song. And it made me think about
Prince.
Well, it made me think about that performance from Prince.
Yes.
But it also made me think about who is that guy? Joe Cocker.
Oh.
How Joe Cocker, he was twitching and all.
He felt the music
he was feeling
on
the
another
music.
level. And
yeah,
I just felt
exactly.
like maybe back in those days, they experienced music a little bit differently.
Well, they did, because the whole thing, and that was one of the main reasons why they would have like long instrumental breaks in the songs, because there was hardly any lyrics in here.
Well, I pulled up the lyrics and he only got to the first two paragraphs.
Right, yeah, exactly. Like one like a whole verse,
Yeah.
And that was the thing. It was like when they were creating music, they, like you said, used the guitar as an extension of their voice, or an extension of themselves. And that's what you could see, and that's what you can feel while listening to this. They were like jamming out, and you could see the people. Like, there was people dancing at the beginning of the song. For the most part, everybody was sitting down watching. But as he continued to play, more people got up. They start standing up and they start dancing, and they was just in the zone.
He told them to stand up.
Yeah.
And I wanted them to pan to the audience to see if they actually made it up.
Right.
But this jacket, I want to talk about his fashion. Okay.
Yeah.
This jacket looks so expensive because he has turquoise going all around the sleeve and the neck.
Right, yeah.
That is expensive. He was balling out of control. He had a turquoise necklace, ring, and everything.
Yeah, I mean, for the time.
Ballerific.
For the time, like, dude was looking like a rock star.
Definitely
He's
a rock
exuding hella confidence.
Yeah.
This is what a rock star looks like. This is how they jam. And I mean, he is on stage and he is just jamming out like nobody's business.
Yeah, they just had a different aura.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Way different than a lot of artists that came after them, even artists who are great guitarists. And that's what I was saying. His stage presence alone, like his facial expressions while he's playing, is unlike anything I've ever seen. Yeah. The only other maybe guitarist that I can think of that maybe is as expressive as him is Steve Vai. Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
Oh, get it, girl. Hey.
Yeah. But I love that. I love that, like at the beginning. You got people, they down there, and they are just jamming out. This girl was wilding out. And then as you get towards the end of the performance, or the end of the middle of the performance, you see more people getting up, and they start dancing around and shaking off and stuff.
I love it. I love when people
exactly.
feel the music, participate, instead of just sitting there watching.
Yes.
It lets you know that they're having a good time.
Right.
It seems like a lot of stuff is going on in that park that day, because I seen horses running and everything.
It was probably some kind of festival or something.
So I thought this was great,
Right,
and I can't wait to explore more from Jimi Hendrix. I
Absolutely.
think he was just such I guess a leader in his genre.
Yeah, yeah,
You
I would
know,
say that.
and a lot of people probably laid their foundation of their band and their music from him.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think the more we explore, the more we'll see how people were
Right.
inspired
Right.
by him and other people as well. Because when I seen this, I immediately thought of the Prince performance. I
Okay,
could tell
yeah.
Prince studied him.
Right, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So that's great. It's just helping us on our journey.
Absolutely.
You know, and it's kind of like a history lesson as
Right.
well.
And I think you're right. Because so many people speak so highly of Jimi Hendrix, and they say he's one of the greatest guitarists in the world. And just giving my reactions right off the bat, watching or listening to the first song that we've listened to, I was like, okay, it's okay. But
Had to hear him live.
yeah, but as you watch these performances, and I'm pretty sure as we continue to explore more of his music, it's gonna be like, wow,
Yeah.
this is why this guy is so great.
Yeah.
I don't think just one song or just a first time viewing of one of his performances is going to completely blow your mind, or it may blow your mind.
It depends on who you are.
But it depends on who you are. It depends on what your background is of what you've seen. But I think that the more we continue to explore him, I think the more we're gonna get our minds blown.
Yeah, and I think the first time we listened to Jimi Hendrix, it was on a live stream that eventually got shut down, by the way. But I was blown away by him because, unlike you, I don't listen to rock and roll like that.
Right.
I'm just coming on this journey, so I feel like I'm getting a little bit of the experience like these guys had. First time hearing him and like, what is this? I've never heard anything like this before. And with other bands as well, because when we started doing Black Sabbath, I was really surprised how rooted in the blues they were.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
blown away.
Yeah, I was shocked at that too.
And like even Prince, I didn't know he played the guitar,
Right.
and then I didn't know he could play like that. And it just gives you a different perspective because as a child, I was never allowed to listen to Prince, but I don't think I would have anyway.
Right.
But as an adult, you like really start to appreciate the musicianship that these artists have, and realize like it takes true talent to do something like this.
Right, absolutely.
You know?
Yeah. So guys, before we go, I want to know really quick if you've ever been to a Jimi Hendrix concert or just concerts in general. How much were the tickets?
$5.
Not only, all right. First, let us know how much the tickets were, how much you paid to go to one of these shows.
And then we'll put in and adjust for inflation.
Oh, yeah, we'll adjust it for inflation.
Yeah.
But also, how was the experience?
I mean, incredible.
Yes.
And do you remember the
Yeah,
experience?
do you remember the experience?
That's the question.
Exactly.
That's what I want to know.
So let us know down below in the comment section. As always, smash that like button.
Oh, yeah.
That way you can and subscribe to the channel. That way you can follow us on our journey with Jimi Hendrix and
That's
so many
right.
other artists.
And for more, follow us on Patreon. The links to both of our Patreons is in the description
below,
down
in the
below. We
description.
got a lot of good stuff that we can't share on YouTube. So
Yeah, exactly.
be quiet about it and go over there and join the family.
Right. All right, guys. We'll see y'all next time. Take care.
Ta-ta.
Peace.